New York State budget deal brings congestion pricing, plastic bag ban and mansion tax. Albany U. After weeks of INTR party bickering, the New York State legislature and government. Andrew M. Cuomo. The budget deal was immediately hailed as transformative by Mr. Cuomo, and it will clearly have an impact felt far beyond taxpayers' wallets. The agreement includes the budget's progressive theme was a victory for Mr. Cuomo and the newly elected Democratic majority in the state legislature, most notably Democrats who helped give the party control of the state Senate for the first time in a decade. They largely lived up, but the deal announced in the wee hours of Sunday morning also showed the limits of those campaign promises. Activists still, for veteran observers of Albany, the sheer variety of issues settled since January from infrastructure to the environment, from voting rights to transgender rights, was a relief from years of divided government, when interests of Republicans in the Senate often stood in contrast to the state's overwhelmingly Democratic electorate. The process seems very similar, said Blair Horner, the executive director of the New York Public Interest Research Group, and a former aide to Mr. Cuomo. But the product is, most of the deals announced on Sunday were largely made behind closed doors, and left to the 11th hour voting was likely to push right up to, and perhaps past, the midnight deadline. Chief among the new policies was, which is likely to affect the habits of anyone who works or plays in Manhattan. Under the plan, the congestion pricing deal deferred many of the difficult decisions how much to charge drivers and who will receive exemptions to the Tri-Borough Bridge and Tunnel Authority and a new Traffic Mobility Review Board. 80% of the agreement also calls for an overhaul of the Metropolitan Transportation Authority, the agency that oversees New York City's bus and subway system. Mr. Cuomo, a wave of new progressives in the legislature, believed the issue of criminal justice reform was of critical importance, and the new budget reflected that. Under the budget, lawmakers and Mr. Cuomo also agreed to a number of changes to discovery, allowing defendants more access to evidence that prosecutors intend to use against them, and processes to ensure speedy trials. The compromise on bail, which came after law enforcement officials expressed concerns about the total elimination of such a system, is one of many compromises that appear in the budget. Another saw a proposed pied-ter tax, an annual recurring tax on second homes that were valued at $5 million or more, eliminated. Although the tax had in its place, lawmakers and Mr. Cuomo agreed to a mansion tax coupled with a real estate transfer tax, two one-time levies that would be charged at the point of sale on multimillion-dollar homes. The tax rate planned to in the state was also included in the budget, but it makes a fee on paper bags optional, which some environmentalists worry will lessen the popularity of reusable bags. New York would be. Mr. Cuomo trumpeted several other accomplishments, including a permanent property tax cap of 2%, something he had said was non-negotiable, and a new tax on internet marketplace providers, which he anticipated would generate $320 million a year to help fund the MTA. The budget also increases education spending by more than $1 billion. Mr. Cuomo, who has been criticized for sponsoring big money fundraisers, also announced a commission to develop a plan to provide up to $100 million annually in public financing for campaigns for legislative and statewide offices, including his own. The commission's a small donor matching program was a central demand of many of the new legislators who won seats last year by defeating better-financed incumbents. Under such programs, candidates can collect government assistance for their campaigns as long as they meet certain criteria. Such programs, and while the inclusion of public financing in Sunday's budget seemed like a victory for proponents, many remained unsatisfied, noting that many details, such as the ratio of matching funds and contribution limits, remained undetermined. That has led some. Still, if New York adopts a 6-to-1 matching system modeled after New York City's, it would become the first state in the nation to match small donors' contributions by a ratio of more than 1-to-1, according to Lawrence Norton, Deputy Director of the Democracy Program at New York University's Brennan Center for Justice. Hawaii matches. The negotiations over the budget were the first of Mr. Cuomo's more than 8 years in office in which he dealt with an entirely Democratic-controlled legislature, and they came at a time of increased financial stress for the state, which in recent months Mr. Cuomo consistently railed against the 2017 federal tax overhaul and the policies of President Trump for worsening the state's financial problems, but still increased state spending to record levels. His administration, during a news conference in the Capitol's ceremonial Red Room on Sunday afternoon, Mr. Cuomo likened the trouble caused by Mr. Trump's government to those caused by extreme weather and political extremism. "This is a difficult time for government," the governor said. "It's a difficult time." It was also difficult, at times, in Albany, as the new Democratic majorities in the legislature flexed, creating significant intra-party tension with Mr. Cuomo. During negotiations, the governor and other members of his administration repeatedly accused lawmakers of having unrealistic expectations and a lack of experience, a situation that was inflamed by the loss of a giant, multi-billion-dollar Amazon deal in Queens in mid-February. Tension boiled over. Still, Mr. Cuomo seemed to want to glide past such unpleasantness on Sunday, saying that all Democrats are not the same, and thanking the legislative leaders for their hard work. Indeed, even as his exhausted aides left the room, Mr. Cuomo stopped and spoke again. "This is the best budget that has been produced," he said, as the room cleared, "since I've been governor." Emma G. Fitzsimmons contributed reporting from New York.
Raindrop, drip, drop top, top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that.